Pro-Chancellor, as public order, may I, Professor Turi King, present Sam Barnett, a candidate for an honorary degree. Sam Barnett is an extremely successful, now lapsed, entrepreneur, and these days a flourishing full-time artist. He started his career with a relatively short but eventful stint at McDonald's, where he was fired not once, but twice. The first time around an exciting and mildly costly incident involving the burning of Big Mac burger buns. Sam, with a view on how to make money, and after, as he admits, watching far too many television programs where lawyers always seem to be rather wealthy characters, decided he was going to become rich himself by becoming a lawyer. He chose to study law at the University of Leicester because he wanted to go to a top university. It's not too far from London. He found it to be a fun place on an open day. And, perhaps more crucially, he was a big rugby fan, and we have, as we all know, the Leicester Tigers. Sadly for Sam, he found that he hated studying law. He then went to law school and hated that as well. Just as well we aren't giving you a Doctor of Laws then. So he joined a company which powered pay-per-click ads. And later, when a colleague left to start another online advertising company, he joined him as part of their business development team. In 2008, at the age of 24, he started his own company. It was called Strook. He knew that the middle of a recession was probably not the best time to start a business, but he'd had an idea he didn't want to lose to anyone else. Sam's idea was to create personalized ads. He knew that many websites upload cookies to a visitor's internet browser, which then monitor other sites that the user visits, giving insights into their online habits. Sam wanted to use an algorithm that would use this information to create viewer-specific advertisements. The problem was, they hadn't built it yet. Sam approached the best developer he knew and used his persuasive skills to get him to join his company. This being the recession, the banks weren't keen on lending him money, not least because they didn't really know what he was talking about. So using his savings, Sam launched his company on a shoestring as he and a small team built the product and found their first company willing to try it out. From there, things rather snowballed. Through Sam's leadership, the company experienced rapid growth, expanding its reach across Europe, South America, and the USA. Sam and Strook received widespread recognition for its groundbreaking work in the tech industry, winning several prestigious awards, including Entrepreneur Country Award for Most Innovative Company in Europe in 2011, and the Telegraph Awards Best Tech Startup in 2012. Sam himself was awarded the Entrepreneur of the Year Award at the Great British Entrepreneur Awards in 2014. It was also this year that Strook caught the attention of Quantcast, a renowned big data and artificial intelligence company specializing in analytics and advertising. Quantcast acquired Strook, with Sam assuming the role of Chief Product Officer at Quantcast until 2019, spending several years working in San Francisco. In 2019, Sam and his family returned to London, where he embarked on a new chapter in his career as the president and partner at Entrepreneur First, a venture capital fund investing in exceptional technology talent to build startups from scratch around the world, creating over 200 companies. Sam is now an incredibly successful artist, the seeds of this new period in his life being sown in 2016 when he was living and working for Quantcast in San Francisco with his family. Wanting to ensure that his young daughters expanded their horizons, together they began reading about people who had led remarkable lives and began painting these people's portraits on murals across San Francisco. In 2020, he also organized the Guinness World Record for the largest ever art lesson. 48,000 people attended, raising over £50,000 in the process for COVID relief. Alongside wanting to enable and empower his daughters to have the courage and purpose to follow a path that was true to them, he realized that he too wanted to have the courage and purpose to follow his own path to leave his life in tech behind and become a successful full-time artist, something he did in 2021. And here, too, he has found success. To mark the coronation, he was commissioned by BBC Children in Need to create the Royally Big Portrait, a giant digital portrait of King Charles III, made up of thousands of individual portraits of the king drawn by children across the UK. There were a world record-breaking 16,000 sketches forming the final piece, the most online contributions ever to a digital artwork. The work was unveiled on the world's biggest digital screen at Outernet in London in May and was visited by more than 2 million people in just 8 days. It was auctioned by Christie's and raised $52,000 for Children in Need. Sam's view is to celebrate every child's creativity and develop their self-belief to achieve and find their own path. The portrait can be seen at the National Portrait Gallery as part of its reopening and is becoming one of the most viewed portraits of 2023. Sam Barnett has not only changed technology, he has changed public art, and he is changing people's lives. Sam's journey as an entrepreneur and artist exemplifies his innovative mindset and his ability to achieve remarkable success in whichever field he puts his mind to. Pro-Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Council and the Senate, I present Sam Barnett, that you may confer upon him the honorary degree of Doctor of Science.
Thank you. Thank you. I guess I'm going to do this in my hat. I graduated, as you know, I'm Sam Barnett, and I graduated from Leicester University studying law in this very hall 20 years ago. And that was a day that was filled with both great anticipation and excitement, but also, for me, there was a great deal of anxiety. When I was stood outside this hall, you know when you're all milling around with your friends and parents, and everybody's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to be? And I didn't have an answer. I didn't know. And everyone around me seemed to have a plan, right? Charlotte, she had a training contract lined up. Claire was going to do tax advisory work at Deloitte. Everyone was joining these management schemes, and I had nothing. No plans. I'd been rejected for every training contract I'd applied for. And so I'm going to speak very briefly about my journey and trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grow up. I'm still trying to figure it out. And as you may have heard, I've experimented across a lot of careers. I studied law, I went to law school, I built and sold a technology company, I was an executive in a big tech company, I was a venture capitalist, I was a board member of big companies and small companies. And this is what I've learned along the way. Firstly, that failure really sucks, but it's part of trying to figure out who you really are. In my last year at Leicester, I'd been rejected for all my training contracts. And so someone said that Claire said she was going to be a tax advisor and I should interview at Deloitte. So after this graduation ceremony, I got my housemate to do the online maths test for me for the Deloitte test. And they kindly invited me to their in-person day where they would assess me and whether I was a fit. Now, as part of that, I was really excited because they gave you free lunch. And in addition to that, they had this whole day of assessment. And as part of this assessment, there was an email test. An email test where emails came in and you had to categorize them and figure out what to do. Anyhow, at the end of the day, they told me that I'd failed the email test and I would not be a candidate to do tax advisory work for Deloitte. And at that stage, I was crushed. Everyone around me, all my peers, all my friends had a plan. They had it all figured out, and I didn't know what to do. I'd been rejected for every training contract I've been rejected by Deloitte for failing an email test, which is kind of ironic because in my subsequent life, I built technology tools that were some of the most widely used tools on the internet. And I realized that in like looking back, is that failure really sucked at the time. I really didn't have it figured out. But that was fine, but that was a critical learning about myself. It turns out I hate doing tax. I don't even want to do my own tax. I would have been a terrible tax advisor, and I also would have been a terrible lawyer. But that was just part of me discovering who I really was, what really mattered to me. The other thing I learned was that through my 20s and 30s, I made decisions based upon money and status. And they were all things that everybody cared about. My friends, my neighbors, my family, everybody seemed like it was their decisions. But I, truthfully, was really, really incredibly unhappy. Incredibly unhappy. And what I found was the only way I could find my own professional happiness was through experimenting all these careers and finally with becoming an artist. And earlier this year, I was commissioned by the BBC to paint the king for his coronation. And all sorts of fantastic stuff happened. The work was shown on the world's largest screen. 2 million people came. 16,000 kids contributed. The work was auctioned by Christie's and will appear in the National Portrait Gallery. And all of that fancy stuff doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The thing that mattered to me and the thing that moved me was seeing kids that had come and had drawn the king, and we projected their drawing on the world's largest screen, where they became record-breaking artists because it was the most contributions to a piece of digital art. And seeing kids' self-belief, where they were record breakers, where they had done something of significance, where they'd achieved something, that picture of just awe in their face was the most magical thing I've ever experienced professionally. And it's taken me a ton of experimentation to get there. A ton of experimentation. And so I stand here at 40 years old, and I still haven't figured out what I'm going to be when I grow up. And I want to let you know that that's okay. That's okay. Your epic journey starts today, right? And it is a fantastic achievement graduating from this university. Fantastic. And I encourage you all, as you embark upon your adventure, to experiment wildly, to learn new things about yourself, to fail spectacularly, and to follow your curiosity. And with that, I wish you all the luck in the world. Thank you very much.